Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool arcade game repair video for you today. So in our showroom we have this Nintendo Midway Cruis'n USA arcade game, and boy is it cool. But it's got a problem that a lot of these driving games end up with, where the seat doesn't adjust right. So we figured we'd film a little video showing you how to do that. So the problem that it has is that the seat will just move on its own and it won't lock into place. So the way you usually lock it into place is with this lever under the front of it, and it's not doing its thing like it should. So we're going to take this all apart and show you how these work and how you can fix yours if you're having problems. So sometimes you'll have problems where the lever won't move back where it's supposed to go. Sometimes you'll have problems where if you mess with it enough, it'll kind of lock it in place. Or sometimes it'll be like ours where it moves all the time. So we'll take it all apart and show you how they designed the seat. Now this is very similar on most of the racing games. So we've got this Faster Than Speed here that was actually a San Francisco Rush initially, and it's got a similar setup. It's not exactly the same, but there's a lever and you can move the seat back and forth. So these were in lots of games. We've also got a Daytona 2 over here that has a similar setup. Depending on the manufacturer, I think there's several different styles of seat rails, but there's only a few, so it's not like every game had different ones. So Cruis'n USA, Cruis'n Exotica, Cruis'n World definitely all had the same. Basically the Midway ones there for a while all had the same exact setup, even though the seats looked a little different. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this plastic seat off the top, and the way that we're going to do that is we're actually going to take this whole panel off by taking these, there's one missing there, taking these security screws out of the side, and of course there's 3 more on the other side. And so after we do that, we can take this seat with the metal base on it off. So I'll grab the security Torx bit and we'll take those off. So we removed all of the screws. That'll give you a little better look at what's going on with them. So they're a Torx screw with a little piece in the middle. So your bit has to have a Torx head with a little piece in the middle. It's a security Torx, and all kinds of different companies make them. So the size of this one was T27. Seemed to fit really good, so it got them right out. So we took the seat off, and so once you have that off and it's still got the metal base on it, basically you don't have to do anything. This has nothing to do with it. That's just all trim. So you get down to the actual platform that moves back and forth whenever you move this lever. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take these 4 bolts off, so we can take this all the way off. On a lot of these though, you can't take it all the way off because there's a plate right here underneath that holds this arm so that it can only move so far. This one apparently in the past had broken, so somebody took the plate off so that this arm could go farther to the side so they could lock it in place more. And we don't have that piece, so we're not going to be able to put it back on, but we should be all right. But so whenever you open yours up, you're going to take these 4 screws loose and just leave this plate missing. Another way that you can do it is you can go ahead and take the whole plate off, so you can take all of the supports off the bottom if you want, but I'm just showing you how to check the spring first. So you're going to take these 4 nuts loose. So let's go grab some tools and do that. So the 4 nuts were 1/2 inch nuts, and on mine I can just lift the whole plate off. On yours, if it's still got that attached, you can't take the whole plate off because this bar will be stuck between that little plate on the bottom, but you'll be able to lift it up and kind of move it out of the way, something like that. But mine I can lift all the way off. You can see where the little plate I'm talking about attaches. These things are always real filthy underneath. So the problem that you're going to have on most of these is that this spring is going to be broke. So if you get one and it's not too worn, the problem you'll have is this spring will be broken in half. You can order just that spring from most of the game room places. I think twistedquarter.com sells them, which is where we get a lot of our parts. This one's already been worked on, and basically the sliders are just worn out on the thing. This little arm has a pin at the end that slides in some holes so that it doesn't move. And this one is just so screwed up and bent out of the way that it just doesn't work right. So what we're going to do is replace these whole things. So we've ordered completely new ones. You'll also have on this one, see how there's a washer at the top? So you have a washer between this and the plate. You can also order this entire assembly, like that plate, the sliders, the knob, all of that. But typically your problem is just going to be the spring is broke. So if you can take it as far as we've gone on this video so far and replace this spring, usually you're good. You can use needle nose pliers to pull this part out first and then hook the back end of the spring in here. So that's what you're looking for. But what we're going to do is to take these all the way off, we have to take this metal plate off. So the way that you do that is on the edges. You have, I think it's just 4, but you have these little screws here. Usually these have been spray painted over, got gunk all in them, but we need to get those out so we can get this plate off. And the reason we have to do that is because we have to get to the bottom to unbolt the rails and bolt new ones on. So I'm going to go get our torque screws, our security Torx bits, and start cleaning these up a little bit to see if I can get the bit down in there and get a bite on any of these 4. This is going to be the hardest part of the whole thing because a lot of times these things are stripped out. Alright, so that went easier than I thought. It was the exact same size T27, and it's these little bolts here. I just cleaned them out a little bit with a little, like I've got like a dental pick, so I just clean out the dirt so that the thing can fit down in there good. And it came right out. And so we've got to clean inside of the seat. And another thing that we needed to mess with was the speaker. Somebody had pulled the wires loose. So the only way you can get to the speaker in this particular game is to take that plate off. So you can see the 4 spots that the bolts went. And so we took the entire piece off. And we now have it up here on the counter. So if you flip it over, we got to clean it, but if you flip it without breaking your showcase, you get similar bolts on the bottom. So we're going to pop those off, and then we'll have this clean steel, that thing's heavy, man. We'll have a clean steel plate to attach our new rails to. So we cleaned up the inside a little bit. We put our wires back on our speaker. And then over here, we cleaned off the plate a little bit, and then we took the old ones off. So here's the original ones. And then here's the new ones that they make now. So they've got a slightly different setup. They're the same bolt pattern and everything, so that's fine. But they did away with the little spring because literally this thing breaks on all of them. And they now have a longer spring that just hooks around the end. That's just how they're designed now. But they fit in the same mounting holes. So we're going to bolt that on like so. And then on the other side, this is the original one. Obviously it's all worn out. And then this is our new one. It's in much better shape. So we're going to mount that on. So we're going to put these back on, and then we're going to put it back on the cabinet. Okay, so now we have our new sliders on, and whenever you put them on, don't forget to put the bolts in, because you can't fit them back in. Don't ask me how I know that. And we bolted the plate back on. So now I need to put this plate back on. Now if you're doing this and you have the little piece that's missing on mine, then you've got an extra step. You have to put that on your new rails. Basically, you have to mount this to the plate. You know what I mean? You have to take the whole plate out, mount the whole thing on the plate before you put the seat back on. But I'm able to do it with this part off because that little piece is missing. When you open yours up, you'll see what I'm talking about. But we're going to mount that back on, and then we're going to mount the seat back on, and then we're going to test it. Okay, so we're all bolted back up. Look at that. Look at that beautiful new knob that's on there now. Now, it's hard to kind of show how these work because they're a little stiff because you're supposed to have weight in the seat moving it, so I can't really film that too good, but maybe I can push it with my arm or something. I've got to prove to you that it's working better now. So it will now lock in place like it should, and we are much better off, so I'm happy with that. We'll look at the old ones again just for a second. So you can see these were just completely worn out. Now, if yours needs that, these are about $40 for a new set, something like that. You can see how it worked before. Part of the problem is this pivot was just all worn out. So, but we now have nice new ones that work great. Look how it had worn the bottom of the bar flat from dragging all that time without that little bracket in there holding it in place. But there you go. So if your seat has problems, open it up and look. You might need that little spring, or worst case, you could get that whole set of rails for $40. I think the whole set with the plate and everything's about $70, something like that. Which would fix about any problem you have. So if you have problems with your seat, that's what you need to do to fix it. Leave your comments below. Have you fixed yours before? Have you tried fixing yours and it didn't work? Would you rather not spend $60 on your awesome Cruis'n USA arcade game? Leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you while we worked on it. And we will see you on the next video. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, head-on collision at 147 miles an hour. It always happens right at the finish line. So I completed the race. I guess we'll go a little bit farther across the... Oh. Mess that up. I always like this one because it wasn't really a. They weren't trying to make it really realistic. It was just an arcade style, so it's just fun. It doesn't. They're not trying to make it, you know, where it handles just like a real car and it's as complicated as a real car. They call these arcade style driving games, and as opposed to a simulator style driving game. Oh! All right. This was one of the first Cruis'ns. I mean, it's the first Cruis'n USA that came out, or the first Cruis'n title that came out. But this was one of the first cabinets actually released because it's the original ROM revision. It's ROM 2.1, and they also made a 4.1. But 4.1 you could link together. This is the original one that you couldn't even link together. It was just a one-player game. So they later released an update to it that made it where you could link two cabinets together.
and race against whoever the second player was. I can't believe I'm still in third after driving so horribly. Got him! And there's my trophy. Now, you gotta remember, folks, this was 1994. The women dressed a little different back then. And the guys all wore cut-off jeans and no t-shirt.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
You can see a little bit of burning right there if you look real close. There's a logo on the attract mode that's there the whole time, so it burns it in a little bit. But we like these CRT monitors, so we leave them in if they're nice and bright like this one is. You can put an LCD monitor in these, but it changes the aspect ratio. They just don't look right. They've got a, you know, most LCDs that are this size are widescreen, so it squishes everything, makes it doesn't look like it was meant to originally. I never hit that jump right. We had some kids in here yesterday. They were playing this thing, and this one girl played this game for 3 hours. She's about 10. She just loved it. She thought it was the coolest thing ever. I guess she really wants a car or something. But kids love this game. First place again.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
This board is so hard. It's got a lot of turns and trees in the way everywhere. I can't ever beat it. I like when you knock the trees down. When you run over them, they just kind of fall flat. It's pretty funny. It really slows you down when you slide around the corners like that. If you watch the speedometer, all that sliding lowers your overall speed. Oh, knocked down a redwood. so that's enough. I just figured I'd show you a little bit of what it looks like with the original monitor and everything in the original arcade cabinet and the 2.1 ROM revision. All right, number 6 that time.